tired. I can't get rid of the tired look. It's aging. But I don't do whatever people do. Whatever. What is the stuff they poke at?
You're fortunate. You don't.
No, I need it.
Hey, you don't need it.
Always picks up right out there.
When they smile, it looks like practice training.
Well, thank you all for coming today to be a part of this press conference. My name is Congressman Mark Harris from the 8th District of North Carolina. And we have gathered here today to send a message and to share a message. And that is that the National Education Association's time is over. The NEA was created to champion America's teachers and serve our schools. But it has spiraled into a partisan machine that's more about radical ideology than education. From smearing President Trump as a fascist to pushing divisive gender ideology and abandoning any fight against rampant anti-Semitism, the NEA has morphed into a mouthpiece for left-wing extremism. They call themselves a teachers union, but their true mission is clear: indoctrinating our children with toxic propaganda. This isn't a few rogue actors. In fact, 98% of their political donations in 2024 funneled straight to Democrats, and their actions scream bias from the rooftops. Our kids deserve classrooms that educate, not brainwash. There's zero justification for the United States Congress to continue giving them our stamp of approval. That's why I'm standing before you today, proud to unveil the National Education Association Charter Repeal Act, which will revoke the congressional charter of this so-called teachers union. President Trump has been a champion from the White House, dismantling the federal government's assault on our values. He's been leading the fight to ban CRT in schools, stop men from endangering female athletes, and is battling anti-Semitism on college campuses across our country. Now it's Congress's turn to stand up against radicalism in our schools. We will not stand by while the NEA peddles CRT, DEI, and radical LGBTQ agendas that poison young minds and ignore anti-Semitic hatred. Their time is done. And for those who dare to corrupt our children's education, we're here to deliver that message. Enough is enough. I want to thank my colleagues who are standing with me on this bill. I want to thank each of these who are coming to stand with us at this announcement today. And it's my pleasure to introduce Tina Descovich, who's going to come and share words from Moms for Liberty.
Thank you, Congressman Harris, and all the co-sponsors of this bill. We, the parents, are done, too. We are done with woke, radical ideologies in America's classrooms. Unassuming parents ask me all the time, what has happened to education in America? Why are schools dividing parents from their children? When did they start teaching children to hate America? When did they teach them to hate their heritage? And when did they start teaching division? And no, I don't mean math. We do not have to look any further than the agenda of the largest teachers union in this country. Over 3 million members belong to the National Education Association. They held their annual conference last week. And you know what they voted for at their annual conference? They did not vote for issues of education. They voted to support the No Kings movement. They voted to use the term fascist when talking about President Trump's policies. They voted against SCOTUS's ruling last month that affirmed that parents do have the fundamental right to raise their children and opt them out of ideologies and lessons that go against their religious beliefs. The teachers union voted to find ways to work around the SCOTUS ruling, the law of the land. They voted to end partnerships with organizations that fight anti-Semitism in schools. Moms for Liberty has had the NEA on our radar since we launched in January 2021. In that first summer conference after we launched, they've actually voted to go on the offensive and do research and put money behind or finding organizations and targeting them if they were speaking out against CRT. That was a direct target at Moms for Liberty. Over the last 4 years, they have voted for critical race theory, giving back our land, solving the problem with the police and racial justice, They voted to decolonize our curriculums. They actually proposed changing the name mother to birthing person. They have voted on abortion, climate justice, and all kinds of foreign policy, but never on education. Their president actually said, and this is a quote from 2022, educators love their students and know better than anyone what they need to do to learn and thrive. We at Moms for Liberty wholeheartedly reject that statement. Parents love their children more than anyone, and they know better than anyone what is best for their children. So today, I am proud as can be to stand here and represent 130,000 of our members and millions of parents across this country that are saying no more. No more NEA, no more radical teachers in our classrooms. The NEA has gotten far off its mission. They've become a political organization that is not only destroying education, but they are destroying the profession of teachers. There are many good teachers across this country that do not adhere to this ideology. We are calling for Congress to pass this bill, revoke that NEA charter, take this country and education back to where it should be, with phonics and literature and writing and arithmetic and science and civics. I'd like to remind all of America today that only 1/3 of American fourth graders are proficient in reading. And if you have to ask yourself why, you only have to point to the NEA. It's an incredibly sad moment in our nation's history when the largest teachers union has put woke politics before America's children. They deserve better. Thank you.
Thank you.
Let me introduce up next, bill co-sponsor, Representative Ralph Norman.
Thank you, Tina, and thank you, Congressman Harris and Congressman Miller and all the Moms for Liberty for what you do, not just in this particular bill, but all across the country. People are waking up, and this is one example of America is waking up to the NEA. We're here to talk about transparency. We're here to talk about integrity. We're here to talk about accountability in public education. And if we can't do this for our children, for our future leaders of America, what can we do? This is why we're here. The NEA was chartered by Congress in 1906 to supposedly uplift the teaching profession, not to serve as a political attack dog, which is what they've become. They have completely abandoned our students, abandoned our young minds, and gone completely off course. As has been said, 98% of the donations went to Democrats. 98% of the donations went for woke ideology that America has now rejected. They partnered to push sexually explicit content in classrooms. They supported critical race theory, and they fought tooth and nail to keep schools closed during COVID. That's why I'm so proud to join Congressman Harris to repeal this NEA group. The bill strips the NEA of its federal charter and moves congressional seal of approval from their radical agenda. This doesn't dissolve the NEA, but it sends a strong message. The federal government, your tax dollars, are no longer endorsing the extremist politics or the damage they're doing to our nation and to our education system. Education is about students. It's not about special interests. It should be about reading, writing, and arithmetic, not race, resentment, and radicalism. We owe it to our students. We owe it to our teachers to stand up for our country, to speak out and put education back into those who care the most, which are parents. And let me just add to those who are listening, we need teachers to activate. When you see a bad teacher that's veering off course, when you see a bad teacher that is trying to spread this woke ideology that Congressman Harris's bill does away with, they need to say something. They need to wake up, need to stand up, and they need to speak up. That's what Americanism is, and that's what our great country was founded on. So I'm excited that we're taking this action. I'm excited that America will get a chance to right something that's been wrong since 1906. So thank each and every one of you. And now I'd like to call on Representative Mary Miller.
Okay. Well, thank you, Ralph. Good morning, and thank you to Rep. Mark Harris and Moms for Liberty for your leadership on this significant issue. I'm a mom of 7 and grandma to 23. I was also a teacher, so I understand the significance of a quality education and the impact it will have not only on our children, but on our nation. Unfortunately, our great public schools have been overrun by indoctrination coming from the National Educators Association. We are here to support American teachers and strengthen our schools, but the NEA has dissolved into nothing more than the propaganda arm of the Democrat Party. The NEA has no respect for parental rights in education and actively promotes radical LGBT ideologies, critical race theory, and anti-American agendas. In fact, just last month, a few days ago, the Chicago Teachers Union president, Stacey Davis Gates, said that Chicago Teachers Union thinks your children are its children. And while the NEA claims to care for children and offer support to teachers, it's abundantly clear all they care about is lining their coffers with money for the union leaders and donating millions to Democrats who will advance their radical. For example, in 2021, only 8.5% of their $377 million in revenue went to students and teachers. The COVID-19 pandemic awakened a silent majority of parents who saw firsthand the filth and the foolishness their children were being taught in public schools. They left and began homeschooling or found alternate private schools. I'm proud to stand with Rep. Mark Harris in co-sponsoring the National Education Association Charter Repeal Act because parents and children deserve better. Thomas Jefferson once said that an educated citizenry is a vital requisite for our survival as free people, and properly educating the next generation is key to that. Our children deserve an education that teaches them the history of our great nation, that America is a land of opportunity for anyone willing to work to achieve their dreams. Thanks to President Trump and Secretary McMahon, gone are the days where children and parents are last. Thank you again to Representative Harris for your leadership and to Moms for Liberty for standing up for your right to raise and educate your children. I'm honored to stand by you. Thank you. And now I'd like to turn it over to Corey DeAngelis.
How's everybody doing? It's a good time to revoke the NEA's federal charter. They should have never had one to begin with. They got one over 100 years ago in 1906. And guess what? They're the only labor union in the country that has one. Why should the National Education Association get special privileges that no union has access to? It's time to get rid of their federal charter, especially after, this is fantastic timing, by the way, after they just had their annual convention last week where they elevated to their so-called Teacher of the Year, a teacher from Pennsylvania that got up on stage and said the quiet part out loud. She said that her job of teaching, of all things, is deeply political and always had been. This has become a political organization, not an education organization. This is why we spend over $20,000 per student per year, more than just about any other country, and we're an international embarrassment when it comes to math and reading outcomes. They also passed resolutions to basically call our duly elected president of the United States a fascist. And guess what? In that resolution, what they do? They misspelled the word fascism. You can't make this stuff up. I mean, this is the union that's supposedly representing educators, can't even correctly spell what they're calling the president of the United States. It's time to get rid of their special privilege. They shouldn't have it. They should have never had it to begin with. And they used to make their resolutions public. Back in 2019, I leaked these as well. They actually defeated a resolution to rededicate themselves to being about learning and students. They defeated that resolution, yet this year they had none of them about education. And a member leaked them to me. I leaked them to the public on X, showing that they are a political arm of the Democrat Party. They have Trump derangement syndrome. That's all this is. They committed to spend over $200,000 to subvert the will of parents. They think they own your kids, and their time is up. They've had 100 years. They've only gotten worse. 98% of their political contributions every single election cycle are funneled to their buddies and Democrat campaign coffers. It's a money laundering operation. It ought to be illegal. And guess what? Wash, rinse, repeat. They do this every year. It's you play stupid games, you win stupid prizes. I'm so thankful for the members of Congress behind me, Congressman Harris in particular, for introducing this vital bill to finally right this wrong after over a century pulling their federal charter. Even if you support unions, you don't have a federal charter unless you're the NEA. Why should they be the only one to get this special status? So thank you so much, members of Congress. Thank you guys for coming out. We're going to right this wrong, get this bill across the finish line to finally yank the NEA's federal charter. Thank you guys so much for coming out. Thank you, members of Congress.
Thank you. All right. Well, thank you all, and thank you, Corey, and Representative Miller, and Representative Norman, Tina, for all standing here with Moms for Liberty, really being an incredible inspiration for us taking this step. So we'll take a couple of questions if anyone wants to ask, and then we'll close it out. Yes.
I'm wondering if President Norman said, this bill obviously revokes the charter. If this passes, will you all consider going a step further?
Well, the NEA, again, to Congressman Norman's point, revoking the charter does not dissolve the NEA. They certainly have a right to exist and a right to do what they want to do. However, Congress has a right to recognize that what they started as in 1906 is far different from what they are demonstrating today. They have gone off the rails, and Congress can no longer have our seal of approval, if you will, as a charter as part of that. And so again, this bill is very simple, very straightforward. It revokes the charter, but it does not dissolve them in any way.
Can I say something?
Yes, sir.
Let me just say, this is the first step, what Congressman Harris has done. They're not going to give up. I mean, they're infiltrated every classroom in this country, some more than others. I'm in South Carolina, but still we see the effects of it. And our children, we have one chance at educating our children to make them to exercise their God-given right to do whatever talent that they want to put to use. So this is just the first step. And our message is to activate everybody. When you see something like this in the classroom, you say something and you let them know they have consequences. And so this is just the first step. I look forward to plenty of other things that we, the people, will do.
Thank you. Yes.
So my name is Heather Poundstone, and I have a nonprofit called Reclaim Education Now. My main mentor is Rebecca Friedrichs, who went to the Supreme Court and won against the unions to have mandatory teachers union dues. And she spoke at the RNC in 2020 and has spoken with President Trump, who knows that the unions were bad. So I'm so happy that you guys are doing this. I want to let you know that she introduced me to my other mentor, Keith Williams, who will be in town starting tomorrow, who works for Center for Independent Employees. He has decertified over 40 unions nationwide and created new unions without politics. And that is what we're working to do. I live in Los Angeles, very liberal California, and we are working on that there. We're flipping school boards, and we are working on decertifying unions. So thank you very much for everything you're doing. I know you know Rebecca.
Absolutely.
Rebecca, and God bless you all. Thank you.
Thank you. All right. We're going to wrap that up, and that's going to complete our press conference. But thank you again for being with us today.
Thank you, Mark. Great job.